Beijing is a fast-paced and modernizing city. As the city grows, expands, and attracts more people from all over the world, the streets become busier, the subways become more crowded, and the traffic becomes heavier. The many temples scattered throughout the city offer a reprieve from the high energy and constant movement beyond the temple walls. In many ways, temples stand still as the city moves around them. Or do they? Beijing is a modern city, but in order to understand how modernity plays into temple life, we must first examine the history of temples and religiosity in Beijing. In Beijing's imperial age, temples were abundant. However, that changed with the rise of the communist regime in 1949. The Communist Party restricted the practice of religion. During the Cultural Revolution from 1966 to 1976, numerous temples and monasteries were repurposed, closed down, and even looted and vandalized. Since the 1980s, Beijing has undergone a surge in religiosity. People have begun to publicly and actively practice religion. This religious revival directly affects temples. Temples in Beijing connect history and the present day. Temples are remnants of the past. Some temples have even been rebuilt on the same sites on which they've always stood. We came to Beijing expecting to find a city of temples. We expected to see religious revival in action. Instead, we ran into closed, locked gates. Temples have been converted into apartments, schools, hotels, and museums. Some of these temples are now National Cultural Heritage Sites, meaning that they are protected, but they are devoid of people and are a bit run down. Despite the obstacle of closed or converted temples, we attempted to gather all the information that we could. This required some creative journalism. Although we ran into many closed or converted temples, we did visit open temples that are both monuments and tourist destinations. Some of these temples are active and that many different people come to worship. The religious revival that we expected to see across Beijing was very noticeable in these active temples.
Our journey takes us to Guangji Monastery, an active Buddhist temple. Guangji Monastery is among the liveliest temples we have ever been to in Beijing. Guangji Monastery was constructed around 1200. It was rebuilt several times, latest in 1935. We were amazed to see how busy this temple was. We visited on the 15th of the lunar month, which, according to Buddhist tradition, is a time when believers should go to the temple to pray. It is here where we first see many religious activities taking place: burning incense, offering incense, personal and group chanting, kowtowing, and even providing food. Incense burning is an especially accessible and visible form of worship. People get the incense, light it, and wave it swiftly to extinguish the flame. Notably, it is disrespectful to blow on the incense. People then put the incense near the forehead, pray, and bow 3 times. Then they place the incense within a vessel called a censer or xianglu. Smoke rises slowly from the censer and carries prayer upwards to the gods, making contact with the other world. Incense burning is significant because it is a sacred offering to the Buddha. Many believe that offering incense burns away people's negative qualities to reveal their good deeds. Similar to the Guangji Monastery, the Lama Temple is a tourist attraction. It is also a pilgrimage site, attracting worshippers from other provinces. The Lama Temple is a renowned Tibetan Buddhist cultural center in the heart of Beijing. Tibetan Buddhist monks from Tibet and even Mongolia gather and reside in this temple. and so it had become the national center of Lama administration. We saw many worshippers spinning Tibetan prayer wheels throughout the Lama Temple, which has the same effect as saying prayers out loud. We noticed, though, that people also prayed or recited sutras when they spun the wheel. According to the Lonely Planet, the Lama Temple is a unique place where riveting groups, fabulous frescoes, magnificent decorative arches, tapestry, eye-popping carpentry, tantric statues, and the superb pair of Chinese lions mingle with the dense cloud of incense smoke. Apart from the two active temples, we stumble upon many open temples that are no longer active. They attract tourists and interested locals alike to learn more about the glorious past of these temples. The White Stupa Temple attracts many worshippers that come to pray, although we are not allowed to burn incense. The fire pits are also not in use and now serve a more decorative purpose. We wanted to learn more about the background of stupa, so we looked it up. Stupa is a Sanskrit word referring to the mound-like shape containing the relics or remains of the Buddha, Buddhist monks or nuns. The stupa symbolize the enlightened mind of the Buddha. When wandering throughout the white stupa temples, we noticed liquor bottles, food, and other goods given to the god as offering. We also saw many Tibetan prayer flags. Inscribed on these prayer flags are ancient mantra, symbols, and prayers, almost always in Sanskrit. As the wind blows, these flags fly and prayers are carried to the heavens. Prayer flags unite and harmonize ancient mantra with the natural energy still present in the temple today. Standing and looking at the flags, we feel connected to the past. We embrace the calmness of the moment. The Wanchun Pavilion, or the Autumn Spring Pavilion, at the highest point of the Jingshan Park, is a small but active temple. The Buddha figure Vairocana was consecrated in the Wanchun Pavilion, and many visitors pray to the Buddha in this space. Many shops and stands surround temples, including the pavilion in Jingshan Park. These shops sell everything from incense to bracelets and jewelry to statue of Buddha. We thought that the many shops indicated that religion is commercialized in Beijing, but people practicing religion may see it differently. Perhaps they see it more as being devout and donating money for religious paraphernalia to worship at home. We saw temples as commercialized as well, as many temples, including the Confucius temples, are ranked national tourist attractions. However, temples have always needed to make money in order to keep running, and especially in the modern tourism age, to generate revenue for a city. The Confucius Temple was constructed from 1302 to 1306 in the Yuan dynasty and served as a temple where emperors worshipped Confucius. Although Confucianism is not a religion in China, it is a philosophy and spiritual way of thinking that many consider very similar to recognized religions. This temple also houses many of the 198 stone tablets, which are engraved with the ideas of around 50,000 imperial scholars from the Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasty. The temple is historically a place of studying and worship, and in the modern day, visitors are additionally entertained by music and dance.
For many generations, Beijingers have made pilgrimages to temples outside of the city. People have been making pilgrimages to Miaofengshan Temple since around 1630 in the Ming Dynasty. Sidney Gamble's footage from 1924 to 1928 shows the various stages of making a pilgrimage to Miaofengshan. Our pilgrimage to Tanzhe Temple was different in terms of technology and ease of travel. However, our pilgrimage now and pilgrimages throughout time share many visual and spiritual similarities. For us, Tanzhe Temple was a peaceful, calm escape from busy city life. We felt the spirituality of the temple in its quiet stillness. Tanzhe Temple was constructed in 307 during the Western Jin Dynasty. Legend has it that Tanzhe Temple was the basis of the city of Beijing. Nature is an important part of the Tanzhe Temple. It rests in the mountains among 9 peaks, which symbolizes a 9-headed dragon protecting the temple. The very name Tanzhe indicates natural elements. Tan means a pond near the temple, and Zi means the Chinese mulberry tree. Preserved ancient trees, including mulberry trees, are abundant in the temple and in the surrounding forests. Tanzhe Temple unites the natural environment with religious expression. What particularly caught our eye about the Tanzhe Temple was the wide variety of religious activities. For instance, worshippers chant sutras and meditate. We also see tablets hanging in front of the main hall of the temple. These tablets are dedicated to gods, including the god of wealth. You can purchase tablets of the god of wealth to hang to pray for personal financial gain. At the same time, this can increase revenue for the temple. Tanzhe Temple also has a cave temple. This cave temple is an example of a small site of worship within a larger temple. Inside the cave is an altar to the Bodhisattva Guangji. The scrolls on either side of the altar show that this temple is dedicated to ensuring fertility of women, praying for sons, and guaranteeing peace between mother and son. The cave is a metaphorical image of fertility, femininity, and the human body. Visitors also spin the prayer wheel. Or they can ring the bell at the highest point of the temple, creating an echo that chases away evil spirits. Temples have been continuously present in and around Beijing for many centuries. Despite the flow of time, temples have remained constant in many ways. People have been coming to them for centuries, and many practices have been carried throughout time, even though some temples have been torn down or converted. In general, temples have withstood the twists and turns of history.